Good morning, afternoon, morning, everyone. It is September 7th, and I'm finally having a chance to re-record the first aid portion of 2 weeks ago show that somehow got destroyed and would not upload the audio. We don't know why. Now, a huge thank you. One of the Unfuckers, Zero, desperately tried to re-engineer the whole thing, put a lot of work into it, and then I couldn't make it upload. So, just the universe is saying, just got to record it again. There was a bunch of things that I didn't talk about, that I wanted to talk about, that I forgot. So I just decided, nope, let's just do this all over again. So, we've been talking about prepping. We've been talking about bug-out bags. We've been talking about first aid kits. I'm going to run you through my first aid kit. Now, as I said when we did this live, my first aid kit is not going to be everyone's first aid kit because I used to be a medic. Therefore, I have a lot of shit in my first aid kit that the average person is not going to know how to even use, so it doesn't make sense to have it in your kit. Although I firmly believe that people need to learn a little bit more about first aid. Whether you're taking a little online course, whether you go get a couple of books and just use the books. Learn from the books if you have to. Knowing basic first aid saves lives. Knowing basic first aid will save you so much time and energy because instead of running off to the emergency room at the hospital for every little thing that comes up, you'll have the ability and the knowledge to be able to handle a lot of that stuff yourself. Whether it is bumps and bruises, contusions, cuts, scratches, scrapes, even to the point of things we talk about, fevers, etc. Now, in the original version, Anne Callahan joined me and she did a homeopathic first aid video section. I'm going to ask her to re-record that and we will put it up separately because the information she brought forward was vital. Vital. Really good basic information about homeopathics, how to use them, and basically building a little bit of a kit. I'm going to touch on a little tiny bit of that today, but we're going to focus mostly on just mainstream first aid kit. I want to talk about what you should have on hand in your home anyway. Regardless of a bug-out situation or an emergency, what do you have as a first aid kit at home? Because the vast majority of people, shockingly, in my mind, have got, a packet of Band-Aids, maybe some, mercurochrome or some kind of a topical disinfectant, and, some Tylenol, Panadol, ibuprofen. And that's pretty much what they consider to be their first aid kit. And if that's what your first aid kit looks like at home, you got some work to do. Again, knowledge is key. So I always encourage everyone, expand your knowledge. Most of the people who will follow this show know, like, expanding knowledge is what we're all about. When it comes to first aid, expand your knowledge. Learn more. It's not hard. Trust me. So I'm going to go through, I'm going to show you my first aid kit. I'm going to give you levels. I'm going to give you kind of levels of importance, what you absolutely must have in a first aid kit, versus things that you may want to think about having that I feel are important. And then we'll kind of go up there as to expanding stuff. Now, again, my first aid kit is not going to be your first aid kit. So I'm going to have a lot of stuff in mind that everyone's just going to go, I don't know how to use that. I also have extra stuff. So I'm going to try and stick this to first aid. No doubt I will expand on certain things because I can't help myself. Because my first aid kit is really my bug out bag, I have a lot of extra stuff in my first aid kit because the first aid kit, in a bug out situation, i.e., there's an emergency, there's a forest fire, there's been an earthquake, there's a flood, there's a factory is blown up down your street and it's releasing chemicals in the air and you're being forced to evacuate. In one of those kind of situations where you have to get up and you have to leave your house with what you can take with you, bugging out, okay? There are certain things that you want, if your first aid kit's coming with you, i.e. me, that kit is going to be coming with me. I have other things in the kit as well, therefore it's less for me to have to carry. I have basically, will have just one big bag. So let's get started, okay? You guys all saw, those of you who saw the show before, I'm going to have to stand up to do this. Let's see if we can readjust this. Yay, now you can see me. Okay. Ignore the mess in the background. It is what it is. This is, or I should say, past tense, this was my first aid kit. This is a yachting bag. And I love this. This was sent to me by a friend. This is a yachting bag, and the reason why a yachting bag is good is because they're made to be waterproof. They've got all sorts of extra stuff in case waterproofing measures in it. Now, unfortunately, when I was cramming crap into it at the end of the last recording, I actually ripped it. And ripped it along the zipper line. I'm going to try and patch this because it's a useful bag at the best of times. But in the meantime, I'm going to order myself a proper backpack. I'm going to be ordering myself a fully, like a 100-liter backpack to be able to put everything in. Got to do what we got to do. So I'm going to show you this first. It's going to be the best way to do it. I guess we can try to go like this. I don't know if you guys will be able to see this. Move the keyboard. In my kit bag, when you open up the lid is, okay, the keyboard is definitely in the way. Move out of the way. In my lid, I have a zip-up area. In this area, I have medicine. Now, as I talked about, we're going to be talking about emergency situations. We're going to be talking about making do with what we've got. In a perfect world, everything we're going to buy is going to be, as we talked about with the food prepping, in a perfect world, we want all organic, we want it all done and packaged in such a way that it's going to be bio and ethically responsible. We are not going to want to be buying cheap crap, but unfortunately this is not a perfect world, and when we're dealing with bug out situations, it's definitely not a perfect world scenario. So, okay, this is going to have to be done this way, I guess. I'm tempting fate. I've got it precariously perched on a chair. So, in the top zipper area, I have got medications. Medications are very mainstream. I have got, well, pull that out there. So, I've got Panadol, ibuprofen. I have got motion sickness pills. These are an important thing to have. If you don't have some kind of a motion sickness pill, you're tempting fate. Trust me on this one. Microphone, make sure the audio is coming through okay. I have cold and flu remedies. I have antihistamines for allergies. I have other painkillers, a little harder painkillers. Now, here's the thing. You notice I've taken all the packaging out because when you're dealing with a bug out situation, the last thing you want is excess packaging that is going to just take up too much space. Note, though, if you're going to take out the packaging, i.e., and you don't know what it is, this is the back of the packaging, which is attached to the pills. So the directions for use, how to use these things. Keep the inserts, right? You can pull out the packaging, all the big bulky box, put the insert, that is the insert that went with the medication, in with your pills. Then you always have the directions, you always have the contraindications, you can refer back to them, okay? So yeah, this contains cold medicine, cold flu, painkillers. My other kit, which I have more of, my medication. I have things like antibiotics. I have heavy-duty painkillers. This is just my simple bug-out bag, grab it and go type piece. I have, so for example, for me, I never go anywhere without one of my SOS balm. This is my SOS serum, which I use for burns. It was made for burns, but we use it for bites, stings, burns, topical dermatitis. If you get nettle stings, you're walking through the woods, this shit works really, really well. Some of the other things I have in there, things like simple throat lozenges. Okay, these are just really cheap. I got them at the dollar store. Honey and lemon and menthol throat lozenges. I have Tums. I highly recommend you have these because if you're ever in an emergency evacuation predicament, anxiety tends to be high, stress levels tend to be high, and a lot of people, the first thing that goes to is right to their stomach. So having some Tums or Rolaids or something for an antacid on hand for easy grab and go. Again, in a perfect world, would you want to take these? Probably not. But in an emergency situation, that can make your life a lot easier. Now this is something I talked about. I have other little things in there, so things like Tiger Balm, right? Tiger Balm, sore muscles, migraine headaches. Believe it or not, Tiger Balm works really, really well on migraine headaches. If you massage the temples, the forehead, and the back of the neck, and I'm really sorry my camera's apparently going to go in and out of focus the whole time. This is, in my opinion, vital. Everyone should have this in their first aid kit. This is a tooth filler kit. So if you lose a filling and you're in a situation where, oh, all the dentists are fucking closed because it's lockdown, i.e. March and April of this year. Welcome, you've all passed level 1 lockdown. Something like this is vital. This is a tooth filling repair kit. That I bought at our local Asda shop in the pharmacy section. I think it cost me £3. I've seen them online. They're dirt cheap. Is this ideal? No, this is not ideal. We do not want to use this except in an emergency. But in an emergency situation, it's a really good thing to have, and it's relatively inexpensive. Something for cleaning wounds. Now, I'm picky about this one. This is where I kind of draw my line and go, I'm really picky. This is witch hazel. Witch hazel has got 1,001 uses, not the least of which is to be able to clean wounds, to be able to clean if you get cuts, things like that. Yes, I buy it in a glass bottle. I know this is an extra weight. I will probably take some and put it into a small plastic bottle to make it a little lightweight. But this is one of the few things that I don't skimp on. Witch hazel is one of those definite ones that I always have in my kit. And you're going to see these come up in my kit a lot. These are, if you can see that, come on, light, pick it up, measurement syringes, okay, for liquid medications. I always have these with me. So I've got 2 mils, 5 mil, and 2 mil. Again, you can order these online. They're easy to find on eBay. You can go into, if you know your pharmacist, you can walk into your pharmacist usually and ask them, hey, do you have any measurement syringes for medicine? And a lot of times they'll just give them to you because all the children's medication, like children's Tylenol, children's antibiotics, all have these with them. So they're not difficult to come by. They are vital. There's 1,001 uses for these, let me tell you. Let me see if I can pack all this back in. This is the problem. I unpack it and then getting it all back in is always a bit of a difficulty. Okay, so now I'm going to try and go through this. This is going to get a little crazy. Okay, I'm going to have to put this here. Okay. Level 1, everyone needs to have proper bandages to deal with cuts and wounds, scrapes, any kind of a trauma that it deals with the skin, okay? Band-aids are not enough. Because I'm sure how many people have done it where the kid has fallen off their bike and taken all the skin off the front of their shin. And then you're like, well, I have nothing. This little plaster is not going to cover that. So I want to go through some of the stuff that I have. And again, I will be very clear of what is a necessity versus what is an upgrade versus what is, you don't necessarily have to have it, but it's a good idea. I package everything that I have in my bug out bag for first aid. You're going to see a copious usage of Ziplocs. Copious usage. The reason why is I've learned my lesson. You can have one big Ziploc bag and shove everything in it. And then you go in an emergency, you go rooting through the bag because you're trying to find the right kind of bandage, etc. And shit falls out of the bag, falls on the ground, gets in a mud puddle, it gets dirty, and now it's garbage. So I tend to put large packaging together. So this is all my, we'll call this, for the most part, my Band-Aid bag, if you will. Okay? So I have a whole bunch of different things in this bag. I'm going to run through, again, what you absolutely must have versus what you can fudge along. So this is all basically bandaging. Number one thing, everyone, and I mean everyone, needs to have in their first aid kit maxi pads. Various sizes, various thicknesses. Don't get the ones that have got added aloe vera. God, you shouldn't be using those anyways, or scented or anything. Don't put that on your body, especially not there. Plain old-fashioned maxi pads are the best pressure bandages you'll ever come across. In any situation where you're dealing with a large wound, a wound that is bleeding freely, maxi pads are one of the best things to use. And the nature of maxi pads and how they're made means that they have a relatively non-stick covering on them. So if you've got to slap a bandage on someone who's got quite a bad cut, you will have less of a chance of the maxi pad sticking to the wound than you would a lot of other things. And real cheap, right? So everyone in your first aid kit should have some maxi pads. Like I said, different sizes, thicknesses, etc. Okay. I have then the bag of Band-Aids, if you will. The bag of Band-Aids. And I'm also going to point out that a lot of this stuff that I'm going to show you, I have deliberately bought from the dollar store. I have bought from dollar stores. I have bought from your Walmart type places because money is really important to a lot of us. A lot of us are fucking dead broke. We don't have money. And that's a lot of the fear that I get from a lot of people when I talk about prepping is, but oh my God, I don't have money. How am I going to build a bug out kit? How am I going to get prepared if I don't have money to spend? So I'm showing people that this can be done relatively inexpensively. Now, again, another Ziploc bag. I have the kinds of strip bandages that you can cut down to whatever size you need. I have this is a cheap ass packet that I got from the dollar store, and it's like, those are Band-Aids, plasters, right? They're crap. They're not the best, but in a pinch, they will absolutely work. I have all different sizes and shapes. One of the things I recommend is getting at least one or two of the larger size, and you can usually see them in the shop. They'll have for larger wounds. They're handy to have. Let's see, do I have some of those? I do have some of those in here, but they're down at the bottom. This is something I highly recommend. Now notice I've kept this in the packaging. These are blister pads. These are hydrocolloidal pads, specifically for putting on blisters. These are a must-have in your kit, especially if you're talking about a bug-out bag situation, because if you're on your feet, the most important thing is your feet, and nothing will stop you faster than getting a bad blister. And the hydrocolloidals are really, really good blister covers. So yes, a Band-Aid will work in a pinch. That is much better. Again, came from the dollar store. That was a quid. And it's, you know, it's only got maybe 5 or 6, it's got 5. It's got 5, 2 different sizes, 5 strips in there. Not a lot, but £1. You can pick them up at the dollar store. They are important to have in your kit because blisters are one of the first things that will take you down. Okay, now I also have, okay, a little more advanced. This is the kind of stuff that I would use a lot more. These are different types of gauze pads. Okay, surgical gauze pads in here. I've got sterile gauze in here as well, which is a good thing to have in a bug out kit, is to have something that is in a package that is sterilized, just for ease of use. Again, all different sizes and shapes, etc. On there, you can see my larger patch band-aids right there. I'm sorry guys, the color is really not showing up very well in the video. These are really large band-aids that I have here on the back, and they're just in this packet. Okay, again, not necessary, but not a bad thing to have. These are an abdominal dressing. These are really, really thick pads. They can be folded out. Again, you can order a lot of this stuff off online, and it's not that expensive. Or if you know someone who works in a hospital, have them just snap through a couple of them for you. So let me put this stuff back in the bag. Oh, fuck it, I'll just throw it on the counter. Okay, next thing you need, stuff to hold your shit shut. Okay? Bag of tapes. These are all medical types. They're all different kinds of medical tapes. And this is important because a lot of people, for example, there's your good old-fashioned, we all know this tape. Mom used to use that to tape your band-aids on when they'd start wanting to fall off, etc. A lot of people have problems with adhesives. A lot of people will end up having a reaction if you have an adhesive on long enough. So I have different kinds. That is simple paper tape. I have, you know, your typical, a lot wider band of, now that's white medical tape there. It's a fabric tape again, but it's got a good stick to it. And I have the plastic tape, which is really, really good as well if you really need something to stick and keep in place. So, tapes, gotta have them. These are, I got these at the Boots pharmacy. These are butterfly strips. Again, you guys are not going to be able to see these. Oh, you kind of see them? These are butterfly sutures. Really, really simple. Now, you don't necessarily need these. I rarely actually have packages of these. I picked these up because they were on sale for $1.50, so that's why I picked them up. You can take strips of tape, cut it into really thin little strips, and make butterfly closures. It's not a big deal, but for quick on the go, if you're dealing with someone who has a cut that needs to be closed fast, it is an option, and then you can just grab them, peel them, and stick them, and it's not so bad. But again, you need to learn how to use those, right? Do a little research. Now, this is a must-have, whether you do it this way. This is actually liquid skin. Liquid skin is nothing but crazy glue. Just so you know, liquid skin and crazy glue, exact same thing. Crazy glue was invented as a surgical adhesive, okay? These are just small little packets because basically, you know what it's like with crazy glue. The first time you open it up and you put your lid back on, it seals itself and it's virtually impossible to get into it again. So I recommend getting either little teeny tubes. I know that in Canada we used to be able to get what looked like a clear pill bottle with teeny little tiny tubes of crazy glue inside. They're ideal. Ideal. Again, grab and go. You have a wound, you need to close it fast. That will work. Really good. Okay? So I highly recommend everyone should have at least a tube of, if not liquid skin, at least a tube of crazy glue in their kit. Now, I also carry rolls of bandages. Okay? These are your crepe type bandages. I keep all different sizes and shapes. You can see that. Okay? That is, wow. Man, the lighting is bad. Sorry, guys. So you can see they're all different types of roll bandages. They can be used to hold a band-aid in place. They can be used to strap if someone is pulled a muscle, etc. Multiple uses. They're dirt cheap. Every single bit of that came from dollar store. All of those pieces. It's not expensive stuff to have, and because it's cheap, you don't care, I'm sorry to say, you don't care if you have to throw it away, i.e. it gets really, really dirty, you've strapped someone's foot, and it's nasty. It's not like the old elastic bandages where you're like, oh, okay, I guess I better wash this, okay? They're really cheap. It's not that big a deal. I also keep one that I did special order. I think I did. No, that came from Boots, so same thing. That was like $2.50. That's a really big roll, really wide, good for dealing with knees, ankles, calf muscles, shoulders, etc. if you have to. Now, that's all on my, really you should have at least some level of all of that stuff. This is a specialty piece. This is not cheap. I do highly recommend that people get this. If you really, really want to have a good first aid kit, okay? This is, the brand is called Duoderm. Now, I believe we also call it, it's a hydrocolloidal dressing. If you're dealing with a situation with, you're dealing with wounds, with cuts, abrasions even, this stuff is amazing. It seals in, but you know how when you put on a Band-Aid, and then your skin goes that horrible dead white color? This doesn't do that because it's hydrocolloidal. Okay? I buy, and there are going to be people here, first aid people, are going to go, oh my God, you can't do that. I buy large pads of it and then cut it down to size to what I want. Sometimes it's just something to cover, you know, a small little, and I just cut a corner off and use that, and then I put the package away. You shouldn't do that, because they are relatively sterile in the packaging. As soon as you open the packaging, it obviously is no longer sterile. But they are expensive. I bought, these are 10 centimeter sheets, and I bought 10 of them, and I think that was about 15 quid. So in the greater scheme of things, it's not your cheap stuff. It is brilliant. Again, blister pads. If you have blisters, this stuff is what you want to use. I use it for all kinds of wounds. Honestly, it is one of the best things ever to come out there because the skin is allowed to breathe. It sticks really, really well, and it's cushioning. And that's the important part, is it's cushioning. Okay? So, let's move that over there. Oh, I'm not going to repack shit. It'll take me forever if I keep repacking everything back away. Next level of stuff. Okay? Again, you may not think about this, but how many times have you gone out, even hiking, walking, you twist an ankle, you twist a knee, someone falls and wrenches an elbow or wrist, etc., etc. We used to have, of course, the old tensor bandages. Well, guess what I just discovered? The tensor bandages aren't a thing anymore. They've got new and improved shit, apparently. I haven't fully tested it yet, so I'll reserve judgment on whether it's better. Elastic bandages. Okay, I've got one in here that's open. I should have one. Yeah, there we go. Having elastic bandages, now this is the new and improved thing. They've got, instead of the metal clips, they've got Velcro on them, and it's very, very stretchy, so you can wrap it around if you twist a knee, an ankle, a wrist, you pull a calf muscle, etc. I have quite a few of these. They're not expensive. They're more expensive in pharmacy, but I got those off of eBay, and I think they were 2 quid for a pack. So they came like that, 2 quid in a pack. They come in different sizes, so I've got several different sizes. Honestly, same thing. Dollar store. Dollar stores are freaking awesome, guys, because you can buy a lot of this stuff. This is just a little ankle, just to pull over your ankle. It's an ankle support. Just a cotton fabric, stretchy ankle support. I got that for the dollar store for $1. This is the same thing. It is a wrist support. In case you twist a wrist. Same thing. It was $1. Really inexpensive. The other thing that I have, well, don't fall over. This is tube bandaging. Now, this is really, really brilliant stuff, and you can get this kind of thing at the dollar store. These are tube bandages. The idea is that you can cut this down to any shape or size that you need. It's hollow, so you just slide it on, however, whatever you need to use it for. It's great for holding bandages together. If you've got a wound and you need to cover it and you don't want to use tape, you can hold things together. If you need support on, say, a wrist, then you just put a cut where the thumb is and away you go. This comes in long lengths, comes in various widths. They really are well worth every penny, and they're not expensive. Same thing. I bought that one from the dollar store. They come from anything from that would be like wrist ankle width up to really, really wide that you could pull right up a thigh. Those pressure bandages are well worth having, and I recommend everyone have one, especially if you're dealing with not just a twisting injury, if you're dealing with cuts and scrapes, etc., and you don't want to use adhesives, because adhesives, again, a lot of people react very, very badly to, and you may not do it the first day, you may not the second day. By the third day, you can end up with really raw wounds on your skin, which then exacerbate the situation and make things that much worse. Those bandages are great if the cut's on an arm, a leg. You can just slide it up and it'll hold your bandaging in place. Really neat and easy. This is, let's say, a level 2. This is the kind of stuff that you really know how to work with. This is strapping, okay? This is, again, long pieces. They are not stretchy. The idea is this is the kind of stuff you use when you need to immobilize a limb. If you need to splint a limb, you don't want it to be too stretchy. You want to be able to tie something down. Stop with the giggling and the talking. This is why I sent everyone upstairs, right? Right. Lost the internet for a second there. So we're going to go back because I don't know how much actually of that last little piece got recorded. So next thing we're going to talk about is strapping material. This is strapping. It is a woven cotton type fabric. You use this for immobilizing things. Whether, for example, if you have to immobilize, someone's fallen and you have to immobilize them to a backboard, to immobilize their head and neck. Okay, this is the kind of thing you can use that keeps them from moving if you have to deal with a splint. Now, this is, and how many of you have gone and bought a cheap pair of shorts or pants and they came with one of these lovely doohickey belts? They've got like the little metal thing that you slide the belt through and over type thing. Brilliant strapping stuff, okay? Really, really well done. Now, the other thing that I have in my little kit is things like popsicle sticks. I even stole those from Popsicles. That's the real thing. For fingers, if you have to immobilize a broken finger, super, super easy. Everyone should have a couple of little things like this. Because even if you're going to go to the hospital and have it dealt with, you still need to get to the hospital, and immobilizing a finger that's broken is really important. This is kind of next level stuff. You don't necessarily have to have that kind of things in your kit. It's something that I would recommend, though. It's definitely worth having added to your kit. Okay, bear with me. Okay, so this is something everyone should have in their first aid kit. At home, in their bug-out bag, doesn't matter. We talked about the little syringes, right? I have an entire bag of syringes, different sizes, etc. From, this is a little 5 ml syringe, okay, to little 1 ml syringes. These are insulin syringes. These ones don't have the needle on them. I also have actual insulin syringes that I always carry with me, just in case of emergencies. Up to, this is a 100 ml syringe. You can buy these off of eBay. A lot of print shops sell them because this is what they use for refilling ink cartridges, etc. They're not that expensive. These are brilliant because if you're ever in a situation where you need to, for example, wash out a wound, if you need to flush someone's eye because someone's got chemicals or got something in their eye and you need to be able to pour water in, you can measure it all out and you can very slowly administer pressure. You can use it for washing out earwax out of the ears. These are just not to be without. Everyone should have one. They're not that expensive. I think these are about $3 each. Not really all that expensive in the greater scheme of things. Well worth having on hand. Like I said, even for the little ones, same thing. If you need to irritate, I've used these little syringes for feeding baby kittens when they lost their mom, and you just needed to be able to get little milk into them. That there are multiple usage. Okay. Now, oh, there's another bandage slipped out of the bag. I've got. This is where we're going to talk a little bit about next level stuff. Okay. Oh, there's another bag that should be in there that I haven't come across. Where is it? Ah, here we go. So, first of all, before next level stuff, vital stuff that everyone should have in their first aid kit. Yeah, I'm going to pull it out. You're all going to laugh. Yeah, you should have a face mask in your first aid kit. Not for COVID-19, but there are time and place when these are very, very handy to have. If you're dealing with situations where, you know, someone is obviously sick, etc., or you're obviously sick and you have to look after someone, well done to have those in your kit. Things like latex gloves. Again, very, very useful. If you're ever in a situation where you're treating someone, you don't know who they are, you don't know what the situation is around you, gloves, guys. Again, this has just got things like, it's got cotton pads. Just the kind of thing that you use for taking off makeup. Packet of tissue. And, okay, again, not COVID-19 shit that we need to worry about. Having some hand sanitizer on hand is always a good idea. Yes, it's toxic. Yes, it's crap. Would you want to use this every day? Fuck no. But there's given situations, situation where you don't have water to be able to wash your hands. At least you have an ability to clean up your hands a little bit, okay? So, where there's all kinds of things that you don't need them for, there are things when you do need them. And everyone should have that stuff in your kit. Just basic. Hold on. Okay. Just some basic cleanliness, if you will. Keep things clean and out of problems. Now, again, we're going to go into the stuff that I carry. This is specialized stuff. This is where we get into the more, for the most part, more specialized stuff. There's a few things here that I want to say. Again, you don't want, not COVID, don't fucking care about the COVID. This is a proper mask, okay? This is a proper ventilated mask. Okay, it's got all the filters on the inside that can be changed. I have changing filters, etc. These are actually really important. You should have one on hand for emergency situations. Again, not COVID-19. But forest fires, if there is dust storms, if there is a lot of ash in the air, if there's smoke in the air, if there are chemicals in the air, if you're in the middle of sandstorms and dust storms, etc., those are really, really important to have for those kind of situations. I recommend that everyone should have at least one of these. Like I said, a nice little kit bag. I've never had to use it yet, but you know what? It's a good thing to have in the kit. Now, we're going to go into like stuff that I carry that not everyone is going to need. This is a professional tourniquet. This is, can you see the name there? It's called Recon Medical. Okay, this is a professional tourniquet. If you're ever dealing with a situation where you're talking about a seriously wound that you need to use a tourniquet, that is something to have on hand. Now, you also need to know how to use it. So there's no use buying something like this if you're not going to take the time to go look at videos to learn how to actually use it. This is not your old-fashioned tourniquet, okay? Same thing here. Everyone should have one of these, I think. They're really, really handy. This is a suction bulb, okay? Anyone who's had a baby knows that this is what they use to suck out the baby's nose and mouth a lot of times, okay? Very, very handy. Same thing, multiple uses. Do you need one? 100% no, but for my opinion, it's a good thing to have on hand. Now, I also have things like, I'll open the next level of bag. This is IV components. Okay, that's just stuff I carry. If it ever comes around you're in a situation where someone actually needs an IV, I have all the components there if I can get a hold of a bag of saline or a bag of Ringer's lactate, etc. Not everyone's going to want to have that, obviously. That's just something that's in my kit. Oh, look, another baggie of latex of latex gloves. You'll find certain things throughout my kit. This is a blood pressure meter. Okay, just cheap, inexpensive, not like a high quality one. Really good to have on hand, especially if you have someone in your family who's got blood pressure issues and heart issues. It is a good thing to have on hand. Make sure, and you'll note that mine, do as I say, not as I do. It's going to take batteries. Make sure you put a spare set of batteries with it, so that if it runs out of batteries, your batteries are right there. You've already got them all packaged together, so you're not going to be in a panic. Oh my God, we've run out of batteries. I have, these are my, if you will, surgical type stuff. Not really, but kind of. That is a pair of bandage cutting scissors, okay, and all kinds of pins. You'll see they're almost like the kilt type pins, but they're great for pinning bandages, for pinning slings, etc. They're really heavy duty and strong. I also have, and again, not necessarily something you're going to want to have, but to have on hand. And keep in mind, this is my quasi-surgical kit. Okay, I have a pair of sharp scissors. I have tweezers. I have little pair of pointy surgical extractors for pulling splinters and things like that out. I also have a scalpel. Now, this is not a surgical scalpel. This is what artists will know as an X-Acto blade. Okay, and then with it I have a plastic container with sealed, sterilized blades in it to replace them with. Okay, you may not be comfortable with the idea of having to cut into someone, but occasionally things arise where you may not have a choice. I recommend that people, like I said, education, learn a little bit more about first aid. That's not something that everyone's going to want to have. I do think it's a good idea, but again, you have to know how to use it, because if you don't know how to use it, it's a waste of time. And same thing again. So this is not a tablet, ha ha ha. Just the tablet box is really, really handy for storage. Stethoscopes. Again, it's not going to help you unless you know how to use it. You can pick up a student stethoscope for relatively inexpensive, and if you have someone in your family who has heart condition, etc., etc., it's not a bad idea. But again, you have to know how to use it. So it's no use buying something like this unless you're going to take the time to actually learn how to use it properly, right? So that's, again, that's called that level 5 kind of stuff when we start talking about surgical kits and things like stethoscopes. Now, get into the side part of my bag here. What do we have over here? Okay. So then we have another section. This is, as I joked, this is my bag. It would get me in trouble in customs if I was crossing customs, because it's a bag full of white powder. Mostly white powder. This is my bug out collection, if you will. And I have in here, I've got food grade diatomaceous earth. I have organic kaolin clay. I have borax. I have Epsom salts. I have some green clay and some red clay. Well worth having. Now, kaolin clay especially, as I talked about in the last show, when we were in the military, when you're going through chemical warfare training, they would give you these packets. And it's like a paper packet, and when you ripped it open, it was full of this white powdery stuff. And in the case of a chemical attack, you were supposed to rip open the packet and take the powder and all over your face and any exposed skin that you had to help reduce the chance of the chemical coming in contact with you and causing obviously serious issues. And I found out, because I always got to experiment with these things, I had a little taste and was like, oh, Sergeant, is that kaolin clay? And he was like, yeah, it's white clay. I'm like, yeah. I had like 2 kilos of it in my foot locker. But kaolin clay is brilliant. It has hundreds of uses. I would never be without it in a first aid situation because I use it so often. But again, you have to learn how to use these things. So I can tell you get food grade diatomaceous earth. I can tell you should have food grade charcoal tablets. You should have Epsom salts. You should have borax, etc. You need to educate yourself on the things though, because there's no use actually having them if you don't know what to do with them. That's an exercise for the viewer, right? Now, the other thing that I always have and goes with me everywhere, and Anne will be talking about this later on, this is the Helios Homeopathic First Aid Kit. This is, I have, in 20 years, I've always had one of these kits. Always, 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 always. It comes with a nice hard case, and it comes with a whole pile of your little basic remedies, most common ones that you would use, with a little booklet that helps to tell you what it's for, what each thing is for, when to use them, how to use them, etc. Again, and I will get her to record something on the first aid, re-record the first aid part on the homeopathy. Those are more expensive. I think these are 35 quid, 35 pounds sterling. I don't know what they are in North America. I know you can buy them in North America as well. These are worth every penny you pay for them. And in my opinion, every family should have one of these. You will always use it. It is been brilliant. Like I said, 20 years. I've never been without one. I now have 2 of these. I've got this is the basic remedies, and I've got the first aid kit as well. They also do, Helios also does a first aid remedies for pregnancy and childbirth. And if you know someone who's having a baby, I highly recommend getting that kit. It is a go-to. It really, really is. So yeah, now the brand I use is Helios because I really, really like them. Helios, and I believe it's helios.com. I don't have my glasses on, so I can't actually read what the website is. But I will put a link with the article. Okay. Now the other thing I have in my bug out bag is good old-fashioned disinfectant. This is what we would call Dettol. This is a no-name brand Dettol because I was really broke when I bought it. Not expensive. You can buy this in any grocery store, pharmacy, etc. It's old school disinfectant, and there you have times where you're going to need it. It's you know, whether it's like washing out, you're going to wash some bandages that you've had to use. You want to clean something up. You've had to use bowls. You need whatever. This is never a bad thing to have. I used to always have one under my kitchen sink because there's certain things that you had to clean, and you just want to make sure that a little extra clean. That's one of the things to use. So that's just Dettol. If you want to go the British way, Dettol. And yeah, you can buy that any old place. This is the one that says on, or used to say on the back, kills 99% of viruses, including coronavirus. Now, one of the other things that I have, again, in a perfect world, I would not be using this stuff. This is my bug out bag emergency stash, so i.e. not a perfect world. And I don't have a lot of money. This is a bag of vitamins and supplements. All bought cheap places, all spent very, very little money on them, okay? Things like, oh my God, so magnesium, B vitamins, vitamin D, really important. This is, okay, vitamin C. Now it's ascorbic acid. Well, we've discussed this before. Ascorbic acid is not really vitamin C. It's missing a lot of components of vitamin C, so don't be tricked into thinking if you get vitamin C that says ascorbic, it's made of ascorbic acid. That is not technically real vitamin C. In a perfect world, would I use this? No. In an emergency situation, absolutely. Now this is powdered. This is just a powdered one, so I can just add that to anything. and blend it in. I have things like, for example, St. John's wort. They're just capsules. They were dirt cheap. I bought these at one of the grocery stores. I think I paid $1.50 for them. Notice I've got the wrapper. All the information is already on there. Okay. St. John's wort is great for anxiety. It's great for dealing with someone who's very, very nervous, who's upset, who's depressed, etc. It's a natural bit of a booster to help things out. So, yeah, I've got evening primrose oil in here, vitamin B, vitamin D, multivitamin, magnesium supplements, peppermint oil capsules, because if you have an upset stomach, that works. Not ideal. They were really, really cheap stuff. I just wanted to show that it's better to have cheap crap when you need it than to not have anything at all, right? So that is most of the mainstream basic stuff that's in this part of my kit anyway. Now, one of the things I want to add, a few things I want to add. Oh, I'm trying to shove shit out of the way without knocking anything over. Talked about this before. If your first aid kit does not have a hot water bottle in it, your first aid kit is extremely incomplete. Hot water bottles, you can buy them everywhere. You can fill them with hot water. You can fill them with cold water. So you can use it as a hot pack or a cold pack. Menstrual cramps, backaches, pulled muscles, you name it. Even in cases of hypothermia, in your situation where it's real frickin' cold, in Malta, how many times I used to do shows and I had one of these under my feet with hot water in it to help keep my feet warm. Okay? I recommend you get a rubber one. They do them in these kind of silicone-y plastic variations. They don't hold the heat as well. A good old-fashioned rubber one, and make sure, if you can see in there, that it has the steel threads. You want the metal threads. Do not get one if it has plastic threads. They will never completely properly seal and they'll break down fast. So rubber, metal threads, everyone should have one of these. And in our house, every single person of our family has their own because we use them that often. These are pills. You guys have seen these for putting your pills in, organizing them by day, by week, AM, PM, etc. They're not a bad thing to have. That's just from the dollar store. They were a quid, right? $1, 1 quid. That's a good idea to have, especially if you have someone in your family who is on a lot of medication. Okay? One of the things that comes up a lot is in an emergency situation, we forget stuff. We don't remember what's going on. Did we take a pill? Didn't we take a pill? Etc., etc. One of the other things you need to have, and mine's in here, of course, is I highly recommend everyone should have in your first aid kit a notebook. Now, this is just a school book, right? You can get a small one. Just get a little tiny small notebook. Little teeny. So that if you ever have to treat someone, whether you have giving them a Panadol for a headache, whether you're giving them a cold capsule, whether you're giving them their regular medication, note it down in your book. Make a note, the person's name, what you gave them, what time and day you gave it to them, so that you have a record. Because like I said, in emergency situations when you're on the go, maybe you're in temporary housing, maybe you're in the car, you don't know. The next person comes along, maybe you've walked away. The next person comes along and says, oh, well, have you had your medication? I don't know. When did you take it? What were you given? You will have a list of everything so that the next person who goes into the first aid kit will know exactly who's been given what. That is a really, 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 I cannot stress how important it is to be proactive and take those kind of notes, okay? And again, that if you've got someone who's got a lot of medication, in your bug out bag, you need to include all those medications. Now, I know it is very difficult, at least I know in Canada, and a lot of places in the States, to get more than 1 month's supply of whatever your prescription is. If you can, try and get an extra month's supply that you can have in your bug out bag. In case of emergencies, you have to leave the house fast. You need to be able to get out and know that you have those medications with you. We all, like we say, we all know that I don't like a lot of these mainstream medications. They're not good for you. They cause a lot of problems. But the last thing you want to do is have someone in an emergency situation having to quit cold turkey. That is dangerous. Extremely, extremely dangerous. Okay? Let's see. What do we got here? Okay, now, as a secondary thing, in a prep kit, if you're prepping to look after your medicines, etc., etc., this is for filling capsules. It's just a capsule filling station. I'm not going to pull it out because it's all the parts and then everything falls all over the place. It's got little layers. You put the empty capsules in. You can put your herbal supplements in. You can put, for example, that powdered vitamin C. You can put that in there. Whatever you need, essential oils can go in there. Obviously, you need to have the capsules that go with them. These are just empty gelatin capsules of different sizes. It's a next level piece. Not everyone's going to be interested in doing that. Not everyone's going to be confident in doing something like that. But it is something to think about. I talk all the time about herbs and supplements and things like that. If you have a way of being able to make it yourself, it's easy. It's another level thing. I'm just going to put that back there for the moment. Okay. This is another piece. This is a colloidal silver generator. It's not a great one. It'll do the trick. Okay? There's my piece of silver wire that it requires. And it's just a little piece with my electrodes, etc. It's got the instruction book in it. Okay? Not everyone's going to want to have this. Not everyone would use this. They're not that expensive. I haven't made any colloidal silver in a long time. I probably should make some. But it's not a bad thing to have. Again, if you have it and you don't use it, it's better than not having it and needing it. So, again, just something to think about. And hold on. Okay, now we're going to get into some of the others. Oh, here we go. First off, this is my carry it with me first aid kit. This goes absolutely everywhere with me. It goes in my purse. It goes in my backpack when we're out foraging, etc. Now, this is a shock resistant. This is a really good container. So this can be drop kicked across the moon and back, and it's not going to break. But I'll just show you just quickly what I have in. This carries with me, like I say, everywhere. We went out walking, foraging with another UnFucker family last week, or this week just passed. This was in my backpack. So I have things in it, little things like toothpicks. Believe it or not. These are plastic ones with got the little teeny brushes on the end. I know that seems silly, but if you've ever gotten a blackberry seed stuck in the back of a broken tooth and had to go for hours before you could get something to get it out of there, you know what I mean. You know the pain. Have some toothpicks in your little first aid kit. Okay, so I've got a little thing here. It's like a little thing of Panadol in case of headaches. This is my emergency homeopathics kit. So it's got 5 remedies in it that I use all the time. It's just in a little tiny plastic kit with a little bit of tissue around it, just because they are glass vials, just to keep them safe. Nice and small. That goes in my back jeans. If I'm going out, I will literally just stick it in my jeans pocket. I have a small little container of Traumeal. Traumeal is another homeopathic. It is a homeopathic cream for bruises, strains, bumps, sprains, broken bones. I have a massive tube of it. It's in my big kit. This is just a little tube that I fill up to take with me. It's, again, and we'll probably talk about that in the first aid thing. Then I've got a little Ziploc bag that has a couple of maxi pads. It has some plasters in it. It's got some little alcohol wipes in it, just to clean the area in case you need to do that. Okay, and a lighter, because, you know, gotta have a lighter. Very, very simple. Doesn't have to be complex and daunting or anything else, but this is the stuff that I use all the time. And that just goes with me anywhere I want to go. Like I say, it pays to spend a little extra money. This container was sent to me as a gift from one of my viewers who I love. But awesome. A little extra money to buy something good quality that you're going to use all the time is well worth it. Stay. Okay. Now, because, as I've said, my bug out bag, my first aid kit is pretty much my bug out bag. Okay, so we have another thing that I always have in here. This is more in the level of bug out bag, not so much first aid, but I'm going to run through it anyways because it's in my kit. This is a bag of all the extras. This has got garbage bags, it's got empty Ziploc bags of all different sizes in it. It has, hold on, open the bag, it has zip ties, different sizes. Yeah, this is a tarred twine, okay, for tying things up, etc. It has wooden clothes pegs. These are all things that are extremely helpful in any kind of a bug out situation. And I really do recommend that it's the kind of thing that everyone should have on hand. Whether it's in your bug out bag, your first aid bag, etc. You never know. I'm sorry, things like garbage bags. So how many people don't think about that? I can't tell you how many times you go into the bug out bag and go, oh, good, I got a garbage bag with me. Or I have a new Ziploc bag because this one's just ripped. I have a spare one. This is another kit that I carry with me all the time if we're going to be out and about. Not necessarily in my purse, but this is got a sewing kit on one side, and it's got some basic bandages. It's got a manicure kit. Now you can laugh about a manicure kit. Manicure kits absolutely rock. Tweezers, it's got little pointy sharp tweezers, it's got little tiny nail scissors, it's got files. All of that stuff is really, really handy. This has got a glow stick. This is a UV glow stick. So all you have to do is hang it off your backpack or your bag. It will charge up in the sun, and then it glows after in the dark, and it will glow for hours. They're really handy. Spare toothbrushes in there, etc. And a hand sanitizer, again, just in case of emergencies. Now, one of the things in my sewing kit, everyone's sewing kit, a little emergency sewing kit, it's got everything in here. Like, it's got hair bands. All through my kit, you're going to find little pouches of hair bands, because once I went out camping and my hairband broke, and I discovered I didn't have hair bands, and ever since then, I have hair bands everywhere. Some things in the sewing kit, okay, things like that's elastic thread. So if you have to deal with something that's stretchy and you need to put stretch back into it, really tough nylon thread. This is one that a lot of people don't realize. We all will do things. We all got like needles and like this. I highly recommend everyone should always have in their bug out bag a set of these needles. These are great big motherfucking darning needles. They're also for fixing sails, like the curved needles at the bottom, or for going through real heavy duty stuff, like stitching sail fabric, etc. It was $1 at the dollar store. Really not expensive. They're handy to have. It is shocking how many times you run across something, even when you're out camping, and all of a sudden you've got to rip in something that's heavy duty, and your little needle is not going to go through. And to go along with that, I also have a thimble, because pushing through one of those needles into one of heavy fabric is seriously difficult. I've got things like some Velcro in there. I've got a tape measure in there, a small tape measure. Okay, these are just, this is a little additional piece that is always in my med kit on top of everything else. Now, let's let's go to, this is another bag that's always in my med kit as well. This is my I have fucking everything in it bag. Oh my god. An emergency blanket. Yes, those cheap tinfoil ones that you get at the dollar store. Believe it or not, really, really, really handy. And again, they're like $1. I have these jobbies. See that? Do you know what it is? That's a face cloth. Yep, that's a face cloth. They're all dehydrated. All you got to do is add water to it and poof, it all rolls out into a little face cloth for washing shit. I have piles of those. Those are scattered all through my first aid kit as well, because all you need is a splash of water from your canteen, and you've got a little cloth to clean up with. I have little things like this. These are for cleaning, little cleaning scrubby things, to be able to get down inside things. For example, your canteen gets blocked up, something that you're using gets blocked up, an air pipe. You've got air pipes like you pump up air pit things for pumping up, like an air mattress. A little cleaning kit. Same thing, they're not expensive. Another thing, this is a nylon rope. Again, really, really strong. Good to have on hand. I have, of course, a flashlight. This is a... Need to change the battery. See, it's a good thing I pulled this out. Not very prepared, are you, Danny? No. There's a couple of little... These are like little travel toothbrushes. A couple little travel toothbrushes. An eyeglass repair kit. Again, better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. That is from the dollar store. It literally is a teeny tiny screwdriver, a couple of little replacement pins and screws, and well worth having. I have a marker, a permanent Sharpie marker, because the same thing, you may need to be able to mark stuff out and you don't want it to be able to be washed away. What else do I have in here? This is a cool one. This is my friend too. This is a USB chargeable little light. It's a teeny little light. You charge it on your computer and then you can hang it up, and it actually gives you a couple of hours of just small amount of light. Same thing, little things, nothing that's, earth shattering, but this is all little handy stuff. And this all goes into my first aid kit because they're all little bits and pieces that you never know when you're going to need. Try and shove all this stuff back in here. And put batteries back in my flashlight. Now, I also have... Okay, we're going to talk about this. Give me 1 second. There's certain things you're going to want to have in a first aid kit, bug out bag, that you want to spend the money on. Now, I talked about these when we did the recording, the one that didn't go. This is the best flashlight I have ever owned. The company is called Patriot something or other. I've got the link, and I will definitely give you guys the link to this. Put the camera back down a bit. This, I think they're about $50. It is well worth every penny you will pay for it. If there's one thing that you're going to be able to do a splurge on in your preparations kit, I would recommend this being it. If I was smart, I would have hooked up a deal with the company, because I rant about this flashlight so often that I've had so many people go and buy them afterwards. I should have gotten a cut out of this, but I don't. Okay, it's very heavy. It's a heavy duty one, right? It has a glass chip breaker on the one side. It has a seatbelt knife to be able to cut out of a seatbelt on the other side. This is a very high powered magnet. So for example, if your car breaks down, you can literally just click it to the hood of the car and turn on the light. I am not going to turn on the light. The light is blinding. Blinding. It has over 1 kilometer in range. It has a extreme bright, a semi-bright, and it's got a flashing. So for example, if you're in a situation where you're out walking in fog, or the car is at the side of the road and it's heavily fogged, you can put on the flashlight so it just flashes so people can find you. This one has solar panels, so I can charge it in the sun. Okay, it also has a USB charger, so I can just plug it in and charge it from the USB off of a computer. It also has a compass on the back. It also has an alarm, which I'm not going to set off. Again, it's got like one of the wailing alarms on it. And it's got a settings to do the flashing lights. So this will light up, and it's got flashing red and blue lights, etc. for emergency situations if you need people to find you. I will put the name of it. It's Patriot something or other. I'm sorry. I will put the link down below. If you're going to spend a little bit of money, that's one of the things I highly recommend everyone should have. Okay? Now, again, on the not necessarily first aid kit, but again, it's in my first aid kit, something everyone should have is a good knife. Everyone should have a good, I have several good knives, but you should have a good knife. Now, this is just a pack. It's got tools in it, okay? This bag is goes in my bug out bag with me. So it's got a compass, a good compass. I've got, okay, little tiny pair of little pliers, little tiny pair of wire cutters, just in case. Several knives. A knife sharpener to keep your knives sharp. This is it, and everyone should learn how to do this. Free yourself from the confines of cheap-ass knives. Watch a video, learn how to sharpen your own knives. You will be amazed at how it is simple. It takes a little bit of practice. Everyone can do it, and then you'll never have to be sawing through something with a dull knife again if you know how to sharpen it yourself. The other thing, so yeah, I've got all kinds of stuff in here. This is my little teeny knife. Love this one. This is awesome. It comes on a string, so I can put it around my neck, and it's only got a 2.5-inch blade, but very, very sharp, and it has a saw blade on the back of it. Now, one of the things I do recommend, again, when you talk about if you're going to spend a little bit of money, certain things you can get away with. You can buy cheap bandages. You can buy some cheap plasters. They're the next level stuff. That flashlight is one. This is another. Okay? This is a Gerber multi-tool. Everyone in their bug out bag should have a decent multi-tool. And you can't buy the cheap ones. I mean, you can. That's the problem. You can buy all kinds of the cheap ones for like $10, hell, even $6 and $7. And they're made of such crap metal that they will break the first time you go to use it. I have a Leatherman as well. I prefer Gerber. Gerber is our favorite in this house. This is the same thing. This is your old Swiss Army knife, if you will. New form of Swiss Army knife. Okay, so it's got your pliers in it, and then it's got all your tools that flip out from the inside. Scissors, knives, saws, screwdrivers, etc., etc. Spend the money and get a decent one because they'll last. The cheap ones will not last. I have had umpteen cheap, crappy ones, and the first time you pull out the pliers to try and unscrew a bolt, they just snap in half, literally. So some things I always recommend, spend the little bit of extra money, get a decent quality one. Okay? So that goes into the knives. And a compass. Everyone should have a compass. And more importantly than even a compass, everyone should own, and I mean everyone, should own a backroads map for your local area. We've all seen it in every disaster movie. You've all experienced it anytime there's been a situation where people have all of a sudden decide to leave. California, one of the unfuckers posted pictures of everyone trying to leave California in the areas of the forest fires. Happens every time. Gridlock traffic jam because everyone's trying to use the highways because that's the way they know to get out of the city. There are always back roads to get out of the city. Always. You will not know them unless you get a backroads map. In North America, those back roads, you can order them online. A lot of the gas stations, you can buy them. So everyone should have a physical map because if you're in a situation where GPS goes down, or the internet goes down, or electronics in general go down, and you can't use your GPS on your phone or Google Maps, a lot of people have lost or never gained the ability to be able to read a map. I highly recommend everyone have maps. Maps of your local area, maps, backroad maps to get out, and learn how to use them. Learn how to read a map again. I'm of a generation where I was my dad's navigator for years, so I've always known how to read a map. Sometimes you need to practice, though. Get your chops back up. Yeah, highly recommend. Everyone should have maps. One of the other things that goes into my first aid kit in my bug out bag is some basic necessities. Toothpaste, bar of soap, deodorant. I've got toothbrushes, spare toothbrushes for the whole family. Socks. Now, you may laugh, but the one thing I learned in the military was that your feet are your biggest, most important aspect when you're on the move. And if you get your socks wet and your feet get cold, that's how you get blisters. That's how you end up literally getting cold. Having spare socks is a huge plus. If you're ever out there walking around and you're trying to slog through whether it's rain or mud, etc., etc., being able to change your socks may seem like a little thing, but it's pretty major. That's same thing. Toothpaste, deodorant, bar of soap, toothbrushes for the whole family. Like I've got a whole pile. There's like 2 or 3 packets of toothbrushes in there. Well worth having. Face cloths, etc., etc. Now, one of the last things I'm going to mention is this. And I don't have the other bag here handy. Oh, there it is, right there. As I drop everything from behind me. In a bug out situation, and even though we're talking first aid, I'm going to talk about the bug out aspect of this because it's important, okay? One of the things I tell everyone all the time that should be in your bug out bag is your important documents. Do you know where your children's birth certificates are? Right here, right now, right this moment. Can you put your hands on your children's birth certificate, on your social security number, on your driver's license are usually in your wallet, on your passport, on your marriage license? Can you put your hands on them right this second, right now? Go do it. Can you? If you can't, you have a problem. One of the number one things that fucks people over is the little things they don't think about in a situation where it's an emergency bug out. Like I said, whether it's a forest fire, it's a flood, it's chemical factories on fire up the street. You have to leave the house. If you don't know where all your important documents are, if you don't have them packaged up to be able to grab and go, it will come back and bite you in the ass. A little thing like, for example, do you have your pet's information? Now in Europe here, dogs get little doggy passports. Well, do you know you have your pet's information? If your dog is chipped, do you know what the chip number is? Do you have that written down somewhere? Because it doesn't help you if for something happened, you get separated from your dog, and you don't know what their chip number is. So all you can say to them is, he's a brown dog with a blue collar on, and he weighs about 25 pounds. That doesn't help emergency services people and the people who are doing animal rescue. This is really, really important. All my documents for my entire family, everything, marriage licenses, our birth certificates, passports, ID cards, everything are in these Ziploc bags. And these Ziploc bags sit right next to me, right in this drawer. I know exactly where every single piece of ID I need is at all times. In an emergency situation, I can pull out that drawer, pull them out, and run. If you're ever in a situation where you need to have any form of ID, and folks, shit's getting insane out there right now with all this COVID stuff. You're going to start seeing the push to identify yourself is going to get really, really big. So make sure you have that stuff on hand. The other thing is, do you have scanned copies of all your documents? Do you have scanned copies of birth certificates, of your driver's license, your social insurance number, your all these important things? Do you have a scanned electronic copy? Okay, this comes to one of the next things I want to talk about. This is a blackout bag. This contains, not all of my stuff, I've got several of these. Hold on. Backup hard drive that has everything on this computer. This, my big computer, every single file from my computer is on this backup hard drive. And I take it out every couple of months and I re-upload the stuff that needs to be re-uploaded again. Every scanned document of all our ID is on this hard drive, so I always have access to it. I have a handful, literally a veritable handful, of thumb drives. Some of these thumb drives are backup documents. Some of these thumb drives are installation in case of a problem with my computer. I've got that thumb drive there has got my entire Windows 7 operating system on it. So I can take it, I always have it. These bags are blackout bags. The idea being that not only are they not scannable, is that in a EMP event, a solar event like that, this should protect your devices. Now, I have several of these bags. I've got a couple of really big ones. Again, these were sent by a friend, but I know you can order them online. Well worth having, even for the fact of if you're on the run, something like that's come up, you can take your cell phone, chuck it in the bag. If you have a hard drive, so for example, we have I have a pile of old hard drives that I've got a lot of data on that have come out of laptops. They go in the bags. So basically, if you have a laptop, it might be fried in an EMP event, in a solar event. The electronics in the hard drive might be fried, but if I have a replacement drive that's sitting in here, it may not be the best drive, that I can pop it in, I will then have access to all my information again. Just something to think about. Again, not first aid related. I told you, I warned you that I was going to get into other shit. But that is basically it. That's basically it. Now, I haven't talked about a lot of stuff. There's all kinds of stuff first aid way. I haven't talked about, you should have cell salts on hand in your first aid kit. You should have, like I never go anywhere without my healing balms that I make. So like the Begone balm for dealing with infections, the Be Soothe balm for dealing with extreme dry skin and cracked skin, sunburn, etc. We didn't get into a lot of stuff. I wanted to give you a broad spectrum basis. And I'm sure I've forgotten stuff. I can guarantee that I've forgotten some of the stuff I wanted to talk about. In the next show on Wednesday, we can have a run through. And if anyone has any questions, please feel free to send them to me. Questions, observations, etc., etc. But that's it. That's it. That's everything I think wanted to run through. Remember that knowledge is key. If you don't know first aid, find out if one of your local schools offers a course. Well, of course, it's COVID right now and lockdown, so God knows, maybe there are none. Look if there's any online courses that you can take. A lot of times you can get free ones. A lot of times. Especially if you're a parent and you have children. There's a lot of free courses that are available to parents for that. Learn a little bit of first aid. Learn how to do CPR. Not the COVID CPR bullshit. Proper CPR. Knowledge is never wasted. And the more knowledgeable you are to handle a situation, even just at home, the more empowered you are to look after yourself and your family. And you will find as you gain knowledge, there'll be less and less trips to the doctor or into the hospital and the emergency rooms because you will have the knowledge to be able to deal with these things yourself. Yeah, so that's it. We've probably rambled on for far too long. I'm sorry. If you have any questions, send me a message at Dani, D-A-N-I, at rts.earth. And I will talk to you guys. I'll see you guys on Wednesday for the UnFuckIt discussion. Bye.